We have a 2002 Chevrolet Trailblazer. We're going to go through the steps in replacing the fuel pump. We'll start by bleeding the pressure off the system using our pressure relief valve on our gauge. Be sure and capture the fuel into a safe container. Before beginning any repair, disconnect the negative battery cable. In order to do a proper fuel pump replacement, we need to clean the inside of the tank, and that will require the removal of the tank. At the rear of the tank, loosen the fuel filler hose and disconnect the tank pressure sensor. At the front of the tank, disconnect the two emissions lines from the carbon canister. Disconnect the return line and pressure line. Keep in mind there may be some residual fuel. Be sure and capture this in a safe container. With the fuel tank properly supported, remove the frame brace and the tank straps. With the tank slightly lowered, disconnect the electrical connection for the emissions and remove the filler tube. With the tank in this position, disconnect the electrical connection on the fuel pump. It's a good idea to clean the outside of the tank before removing the module assembly. This will keep any excessive debris from getting in the tank. Disconnect the fuel lines. Remove the safety retainers and reinstall into the fuel line fitting. Remove the tank locking ring using a non-ferrous brass punch, turning it counterclockwise. Be sure and inspect the ring, make sure it's not damaged in any way that would hinder its reuse. As you remove the module assembly, keep in mind there's a reservoir that will hold residual fuel. Be sure and capture this in a safe container. At this point, we need to drain the remaining fuel into a safe container and then clean the inside of the tank. We want to be sure that the tank is as clean as possible to allow a clean environment for the fuel pump. With the inside of the tank thoroughly clean, we're ready to install the new Airtex fuel pump module. Install the float arm onto the sender assembly. Install the tank seal onto the pump. Lower the module assembly into the tank. You'll need to remove the electrical connector before installing the locking ring. Align the locating tab on the flange with the recess in the top of the tank. Install the locking ring turning it clockwise, making sure the locking tab is fully seated. Reinstall the fuel lines and electrical connection. For ease of installation, we'll remove the retainer clips from the lines and install into the fittings. It's always a good idea to replace the fuel filter when replacing the fuel pump module. With the tank partially raised into position, connect the electrical connection for the pump. As you raise the tank into position, reconnect both the emissions and electrical connectors at the back of the tank. With the tank fully raised into position, reconnect the fuel filler hose. Reinstall the tank straps and the frame brace. At the front of the tank, reconnect the fuel lines and emissions lines. With the repair complete, reattach the negative battery cable. Cycle a key 2 to 3 times in order to charge the system. Start the vehicle and monitor fuel pressure, making sure it's within vehicle specifications. Now before we remove our pressure gauge, we'll shut the vehicle off and bleed the pressure using our pressure gauge, making sure to capture any fuel into a safe container.